Welcome to the Makk Nero Monologues. It has been a long time coming. Very long time. But that's okay, we're here. We're finally here. We made it. Episode 1. I know we've been talking about this a long time, but I think we just gotta get right into it. First things first. Gina Carano got her stupid ass fired. How, Sway? How? Like, don't get me wrong, like, you're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe, and freedom of speech, blah, 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 but freedom of speech protects you from legal consequence, right? Like, you can't, have the government run down on you for saying some wild shit, but it doesn't protect you from actual social, interpersonal, or career consequences, y'all. You gotta realize this. And then she go run her goofy ass over to Ben Shapiro's network like, oh, I want to make my movie. It's been my dream. I've been dealing with oppression. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You were in Star Wars, yo. You were in Mandalorian. Like, Mandalorian's kind of Star Wars now. Like, that shit overwrote the sequel trilogy, yo. And you're out here just showing your ass. Like, it wasn't just that she was ignorant about one or two things, or like we disagreed with her for like one or two things. It's like, okay, you're making jokes about masks, then you're making jokes about trans people, then you're making jokes, well, I don't know if it's really jokes, right? But then you're making comments about like comparing your political views with what it was like to be Jewish during the Nazi take. Come on. Like, maybe she knew she was going to, I don't know. I feel like she really fucked up a bag where she could have just kept that shit off social media. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people with a lot of problematic beliefs that they don't post. Like, if you're going to be trash, at least be trash like the rest of us and keep your toxicity of that level on low. Don't fuck up the money. How you go fuck up the money, Gina? Come on, people was fucking with you, Gina. Honestly, I thought she was looking pretty good, looking real thick, looking real okay. Like, let's go. And then, you really started talking out of your neck there. But hey, that was your decision. That was your check. Or your lack of check. Like, who knows? Maybe your movie's gonna be fine. Maybe your career's gonna bounce back. You're gonna have loads of success, and I'm gonna just be some nigga sitting in front of a microphone talking out my neck. But I just feel like all you had to do was at least keep it off the internet. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay, but at least keep the shit off of your social medias, yo. Be low. I guarantee you it's a lot of people out there that believe a lot of shit that we don't agree with, and they just keep it low. But oh well. What is it that y'all like to say? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It is what it is. That's what you got. Speaking of Mandalorian, though, I do think that we're finally at a point where by now you should have seen up until the end of season 2. So you know what happens in the finale, and I feel like it's safe to talk about here. Well, let me not talk about the finale. Let me get into the season a little bit more first, and then get into the finale. Because I feel like this season was really ramping up to something that felt a lot bigger than what we got. I feel like the connection to the Clone Wars animated series, bringing in characters in a live action scene, or live action sense that we hadn't seen on screen yet. I thought that was really cool. I think bringing in Bo-Katan was really fucking cool. I hope they do more stuff with her character, even though right now, she seems a little, I guess Bo's always been sus, but she seems like she might be an antagonist, but I can't tell. I really hope that they give her a lot more screen time, a lot more character development, Mandalorian side. I know there's a lot of Clone Wars people out there, a lot of people, well, does Rebels count? But I know there's a lot of people that pay attention to all of the forms of Star Wars media, but the reality is that for a lot of people, just like how it is with Marvel, We watch a movie, we watch a show, people ain't cracking open comic books and shit like that. So we want to see that expanded upon in a way where everyone gets it. You know what I mean? There were people who were excited to see Ahsoka in a way that the average Mandalorian audience wasn't, because they don't know who the fuck she is, because they didn't watch Clone Wars. So it was good to see Ahsoka as well. I will admit, though, I'm not sure. We introduced Ahsoka. Ahsoka's a badass. I like to see that. Grown Ahsoka's really cool. Wasn't a fan of her in the very beginning. I don't think a lot of people were when Ahsoka was like brand new to Clone Wars, but she's cool now, right? White lightsabers, dark saber, I'm not gonna dive all the way down the Star Wars rabbit hole with y'all just yet. We'll say that a little bit for later, but it definitely was really cool to see her, and it was really cool to see how they did with her appearance and the budget of being on a TV show rather than like this massive movie. I think they really did their best to make that look cool, and I think they did a solid job. I don't like how Beskar is lightsaber proof though. That just raises so many fucking questions. And it just feels like I know they had to make Mando tough, but I think turning Beskar into like Star Wars Vibranium wasn't the way to do it. I don't know why, but he can take literally everything in the Beskar. Like, what about blunt force trauma? Like, sure, that helmet gonna prevent your wig from getting split open, but like, okay, like at the end, right? Or near the end, when he was, thumping with that dark trooper in the hallway that punched this nigga's head through the fucking, like, hull or whatever, or that interior wall. Like, your neck is not made out of Beskar, my nigga. Like, just because he can't cave your fucking dome in doesn't mean he shouldn't be able to just take your head off your body. So, I definitely want to see, I don't know, I want to see them clean that up a little bit instead of using it in a very, like, super plot armory way. I'ma still watch season 3. I'ma still watch Book of Boba, all that other stuff. But for what I felt like they were building up to and how I felt like, I didn't think Moff Gideon was going to go out like that. I didn't think, it really just kind of felt like there were a lot of things where the show could have gone in a very different direction. I don't know. It was good. I definitely enjoyed it. But it also still has that feeling of being really segmented, and I really want to see Mandalorian stop having each episode be this sort of like individual separate side piece adventure. I want it to feel like it's a continuous thing where this episode does not make sense without the episode before it, but some of these episodes you can kind of put them in any order and it doesn't really matter, and that's starting to become less and less entertaining. It's cool to see Star Wars. It's cool to see this side of Star Wars that's like outside of following the fucking Skywalkers all over the fucking galaxy. And then spoiler fucking alert. Okay, so I think the biggest problem with Star Wars is that they're trying so hard to continue to rely on known characters that are attached to what is effectively the Skywalker saga. You're telling me that somehow the entire fucking galaxy keeps running into these same 6 white folks? Like, come on. You're telling me this much of Star Wars lore for 200 fucking years, damn near. I'm being extra, but really, for a decent amount of time, hinges on the actions and interactions of a handful of fucking people, man. Like, imagine just living on a random Outer Rim planet, or just living on fucking Alderaan or whatever, and you get your shit nuked. Because the Skywalkers and friends are fucking around. You were just trying to get your taxes done. You just didn't want Uncle Sam at your door, and now your planet's gone. You know what I mean? What was that planet in Rogue One that got smoked? It was like knockoff sand planet that also wasn't Tatooine or Jakku or whatever the fuck that got nuked too. Imagine you really just out here hanging out with fucking banthas and the Borgullet or whatever the fuck. And your planet gets nuked because Skywalkers is fucking around. I just don't, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. But speaking of Skywalker's fucking around, so they introduce Luke at the end of Mandalorian. And I feel like that was a waste. Huge waste. Massive waste. I feel like, first off, y'all clearly didn't have the budget for it. You just didn't. Luke looked very bad. That mushy face, questionable CG. I get it, people were hyped to see him. I get that you wanted to have Mark Hamill actually in it. All this other stuff. That's cool. But some things you just gotta look at it and be like, nah, I don't think we can do that. Assuming we stick with Luke, right? I don't think that of all of the options or all the directions we could have gone, and Luke was the best one, but just focusing on the fact, like, okay, let's say, fuck it, Luke's in here. That's the way the story's set up from now going into the fucking future, right? I don't think that CG was just so greasy, man. Like, there had to have been something better y'all could have done. Even the fight scene kind of leading up to it, like, I get it, there were vibes of it. That kind of reminded me of that scene at the end of Rogue One with Darth Vader when he was terrorizing these niggas in that hallway. I did like those parallels, whether they were intentional or not. I got a strong vibe from that, and I did enjoy that. But what I really didn't enjoy was, even in a lot of that fight, like this, there is something to be said about a lot of series, but especially in Star Wars. In Star Wars, the bad guys are badasses until a hero character is around. And the moment a hero character is around, they turn into like the fucking droids from episode 1, where it's just a fucking meme. They're just mediocre. They can't hit shots. They don't do logical things. Like, they won't try and get in cover, hit an angle, do nothing. They just turn into immediate cannon fodder. And I get it, right? The heroes are the heroes for a reason. They're badasses. They're not supposed to get hurt. They're supposed to be all over these guys. But I feel like rather than make the bad guys look suddenly incompetent, it would be a lot easier to digest if the good guys looked like they were doing shit that really had the bad guys looking shaky when the bad guys attempted to do something that was smart and logical, and then they just fucked it off. There was a lot of that where, like, these dark troopers were a fucking menace, and then Luke shows up and they're practically just standing there. They're not jumping him. They're not really trying to do it. They're just really standing there getting carved up. I thought that shit was corny. I just felt like that whole scene, I don't know, something about that episode of Mandalorian and a couple other ones really make me think that, like, I don't know if it has to do with Gina Carano getting fired and, like, they kind of knew she was getting fired, but they were letting her finish out the show or what. But it's feeling like some of those changes that happened at the end of this season weren't the plan. And I think that some of the things that may have happened during the season, like how we're getting like the Rogue Squadron spinoff or whatever, and we're getting the New Republic spinoff and all this other stuff, I feel like the original plan for Mando season 2 wasn't to include all those things, but then they had to open all these doors and get people excited and kind of hint at and knock on this and do that. And I think it's really something that it really feels like, I don't know, I think that compromised what Mandalorian could have been. I think everything they did with Boba was great, though. I'm really excited for the Book of Boba Fett. I do wish Buddy could slim down a little bit. I know that's fucked up, but my man's looking a little washed FM. You know what I mean? If my man could get like 10, 15 down, you know what I mean? Just go down 1 or 2 pant sizes. I mean, you know, I get it. He's older. He's been through some shit. That's fine. But, like, I don't need him to look like fucking Thor or anything. But, you know, the Beskar barely even fits you, my guy. And if the armor is Beskar, how to get it in, all this other stuff, but maybe his isn't Beskar. You know what I mean? Like, all that shit that's going on. So, yeah, man, I'm definitely eager to see where it all goes in that sense. But the spin-offs, we'll see. I'm gonna watch it. The ending, aside from Luke looking shaky, aside from it being very fucking clear that it was Luke too, it's like, oh, a little X-Wing, what's that gonna do? Come on. We knew that was Luke from a mile away. And just that CG was just so wasteful. I've said this off mic before, but I think Mace Windu would have been way better. 1,000,000% better. For one, he's one of the few characters from the Clone Wars era who was not confirmed to be killed. He was literally at one point the second most powerful Jedi alive, and the only one more powerful than him was a nigga who can live 1,000 years. Like, you should be nicer than somebody that doesn't have, like, you've been alive for hundreds of years longer than him. You should be better than this. You know what I mean? So he definitely, like, it's plausible that he survived what happened to him. You definitely could have given him an artificial hand. Samuel L. Jackson is in his 70s, so rather than try and CG an old man into a young man, just let an old nigga be an old nigga on camera, bro. And let Mace Windu terrorize these niggas, man. Like, let Mace Windu show up. Let Mace Windu be a Jedi Master to Grogu. Let him, honestly, even possibly know about Grogu. You know what I mean? It feels like someone who was, like, I don't know, on the Jedi Council, had been that nigga in the Jedi Order for a while, would have, like, a sort of key, what's the word I'm looking for? Key, like a really important stance, maybe? Key position. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Just, he would be really key in sort of building that new Jedi Order and sort of bringing some of these Jedi out of exile. Like, if Ahsoka Tano can stay in exile, stay low, and survive, Mace Windu should be able to as well. Because we saw Ahsoka try Vader. Well, if you watched any of the other stuff. Ahsoka tried Vader and got folded, right? But Mace Windu put hands on the Emperor, who would have folded Vader like an old wallet at their peaks, who lost to Obi-Wan. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody should be competent enough, powerful enough, ready, or whatever, I think Mace would have been perfect, and it would have given an option to really, like, sort of close out his arc, or even just kind of stay away from the Skywalkers, because now we're getting into that point where we keep ending up having to go right into what's going on with the films. And when you do that, you limit your options, because it's like, well, this can't happen because this happened in the movie, and this would be a plot hole for this and counteract this, and like, we're already running into that by turning Beskar into this indestructible thing. But if all Mando armor is Beskar, how the fuck did Boba get a dent in his? You know, it's Star Wars, and I'm sure, right, this is Disney doing Disney shit. For whatever reason, they can't just leave this one time frame alone. They can't just let it be a story where it doesn't involve bigger people. And I'm excited for more Mando. I'm gonna watch these spin-off shows, but it worries me, because what really made Mando good before is that it was just Star Wars, and it was almost in no way linked to other things that we knew, in the sense that, like, okay, the Darksaber definitely came up in Clone Wars. I'm not a fan, but it is what it is, right? But it was distanced enough to where, okay, this could be interesting, right? Stormtroopers existed, but it wasn't like, this is happening at the height of the Empire, and there's Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon, you know what I mean? It wasn't running right into these characters, and it's like, this is a galaxy, bro. It's not like people are just hanging out on one planet over the course of 30-ish years, and then, oh, we conveniently bumped into each other, or your actions affect my actions. Like, this is a whole ass galaxy, man. And it just really feels like there should be, I don't know, that separation, that distance, that sort of like, damn, this was happening the whole time while this other shit was happening, and these people have no idea of each other's existence, because it's a fucking galaxy. I would love to see that. I would love to see that exploration of lesser known planets, outer rim planets, see how things really get busy, like really get into that nitty gritty of Star Wars. And I felt like Mando was dipping its toes into that, but I just get a little worried when I see fucking, you know, Luke Goodboy show up, and we're right back fucking, first there's Luke, then there's Leia. Han, probably not, because Harrison Ford would be like, yo, get the fuck out my ear. But maybe someone to step in and be a younger Han, right? And then Chewie's back, because Chewie was alive for the whole, you know what I mean? And then somehow we're right back in the fucking shit, where we keep seeing these same characters. I could be wrong, it could be being hypercritical. Who knows? I just hope that we really see Star Wars grow and take advantage of all the lore that's been built around it. I know Disney shuttered a lot of stuff, which was right. There's a lot of bad extended universe lore out there. Very fucking bad. But I really think that, I do think that they could have, I don't know, maybe picked and choose, you know what I mean? They just went ahead and did a nice little Destiny Sunset, vaulted all their content. Now they're wondering why they don't have enough. Like, there's a lot of shit, right? The Luke clones were terrible, but man, even just, I keep telling people, legends or not, read Darth Plagueis. To this day, I don't think I've ever read a better Star Wars novel in my fucking life. From beginning to end, like, at some point I thought the Darth Bane trilogy was it. Nah, fuck all that. Read Darth Plagueis. It's such it's a good Star Wars piece that's, I don't know, it's not too Star Wars. It almost doesn't rely on the fact that it's Star Wars to get you. I think Star Wars does a lot of that, where we let shit slide because of Star Wars. And the nature of Star Wars is cool. The idea of Star Wars is cool. The spectacle of Star Wars is cool. But Star Wars is mostly bad, right? It just kind of is. But I feel like Darth Plagueis would have been good even if it wasn't Star Wars related. Like, I really feel like that could have been an original universe. Arguably, in some cases, not even sci-fi, and that shit still would have slapped. But enough about Star Wars. This is not a strictly Star Wars pod, but you know, I can talk your fucking ear off about the shit. I do want to make a bit of a gear change. Get it? Gear change, because we're going to talk about cars next. Yeah, I do want to shift into another gear. There are rumors that Toyota and Subaru are working on a hot hatch together. So, hot hatch. I mean, we already knew the new WRX was coming. There was talk about, and that's on Subaru's end, that we already knew that there was supposed to be like a GR Corolla hatch coming maybe. So, maybe these rumors are just kind of aligning with both of those cars, where it's just like, rather than it actually being some new third car that we don't know about, they're probably just talking about these two that were coming anyway. But the rumor, one thing that the rumor states that's kind of actually surprising, at least on Toyota's end, is that so it's supposed to be an all-wheel drive turbo hot hatch, which super duper sounds like a WRX wagon, right? Subaru's done it before. We wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that, but allegedly Toyota's in on this as well. So is the new GR Corolla or GR whatever they call it, or are they going to not do a GR Corolla? Because, you know, the GR Yaris is out there overseas. We didn't get that. Or they're not going to do their own GR Corolla, and it's just going to be like basically a WRX underneath, reskinned, where it's going to be like two new twins, like how the FRS or BRZ or 86B or whatever the fuck, how those have the twins now. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, if it's a new car, that's cool, because I think we need more affordable, sporty offerings. I really want to see that sort of resurgence of like shit that's manual, has more than fucking 140 horsepower, has tuning potential, has all this other stuff, but also isn't a $50,000 used BMW, right? Like, or Porsche Cayman or whatever. It feels like we got to this point where your options for sports cars are Miata, if you have 30 grand or less, Mustang or Camaro or whatever, if you want a V8 and you have about 40 grand or less. And then everything after that is 50 bands and up. And that's when you get into the European sports cars. And I'm not saying they're not bad cars, but when you're a young adult, shit, sometimes you ain't even gotta be that young. You ain't really got 50 bands to spend on a car like that in most people's lives can't be used regularly, right? I'm a young dude. I don't have kids. I don't want kids. So I can get away with having my only car be a two-seater. I don't live anywhere with inclement weather. You know what I mean? I'm from California, nigga. Like, I'm good. I don't need a winter car, right? I can drive my shit year round. Excuse me. I can drive my shit year round and be good. But it's something where for a lot of the country, that's not an option. You know what I mean? You're trying to put your kid in the back of your M2 comp. You know what I mean? Are you trying to, like, the Supra doesn't even have back seats. When winter comes, you're not going to be driving. I mean, you might, right? But do you really want to go risk your sports car getting rusted out on the bottom from the salt on the roads? Do you want to risk having I got to go put winter tires on my fucking lowered performance vehicle? It's ain't fun to drive at that point, you know? And I'm not saying that these aren't good cars. I'm not saying that these aren't cars that people want. It's just that, like, we can't buy them. And because we can't buy them, well, let me be clear. They're harder to buy new. And because they're harder to buy new, they're less of a proposition because manufacturers don't get money off of us buying it secondhand. You know what I mean? Just like how GameStop low-key fucked up the gaming market by really robbing people and making a bunch of money off of used games, and none of that was really going to the developers and the publishers. Anyway, just like how that happens, if the cars aren't bought new, the manufacturers have no incentive to keep making them. And I think the C8 Corvette was cool as shit. You know, it would have been the first Corvette that I would have ever wanted to buy new. And first off, they dropped we couldn't get one. If there was one available, it wasn't being sold at sticker, which was already $60 for the base. Now they're borderline out of stock everywhere. When they are in stock, it's really weird dad spec combinations. And the shit is $70,000, $80,000, man. And I'm not saying that, like, Corvettes have ever been cheap cars, but, like, the shit is nutty, bro. Like, even if you are kind of, like, in that price bracket, it gets really tough to get these cars new. Or there are people who have that money, like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm not gonna take the hit on the depreciation, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, then that happens and you get mad when the car isn't made anymore. Right? So to kind of get back to the main point, we need more of these cars that are coming out in this 30 grand-ish or less range. And we need to buy them. We need to buy them new. We need to let manufacturers know that we want this. We need to not just sit there, well, I'm going to buy a used and then complain when they feel like it didn't sell well. No, if you can afford to buy it new, buy it. And it's good to see that there might be more options because there's a fucking lack, man. I mean, the Civic Type R is a great performer, but it's ugly. And finding it at sticker new is impossible. Hyundai Veloster. Good performer, good price, good looking on one side, but it's fucking asymmetric. That 3-door shit, done, right? It just is what it is, man. And it doesn't perform as well as, like, the Type R, if that's the sort of shit you care about. BRZ is cool, but it's getting old. I am going to get into the new one here in a bit. Miata is cool if you like that sort of thing. The Golf GTI seems to get softer and softer every year. Like, I don't know, it's just not exciting. I don't even know if it's for young adults anymore. I think it's for, man, I don't know. Golf GTI is just not it. Golf R is, at that price point, you can do a lot better. And that's kind of it, really, when it comes to, like, hey, you want something that's fun and kind of fast. And you actually know the Golf R is probably $40 for a new one, so I think that's out. So we're looking at 5-ish cars for about mid-30s or less if you can find them new at sticker. And those are all our options. Oh, the WRX is still around. I'm sorry, let me not speak ill of it like it's gone. But it is due for a refresh as well. So we, like, the WRX and BRZ are both very old at this point. And the Miata, the Indy is a great car, but you have to really like that. I think Alfa stopped their version. Not Alfa, Fiat, the 124. But, yeah, man, it's rough. So to hear rumors like, okay, Toyota's developing a hot hatch, it's like, okay, are we adding, or are we just going to give ourselves more twins? Because on the one hand, I mean, like, twins aren't bad, but if you're just giving me a Toyota WRX, I'm not excited, but it's not so much a new car as a reskin, and I don't think that really counts. I don't think a lot of people are going to look at the 8.6 and the BRZ like a separate car. However, if these partnerships lead into more overall cars, and that is important, as much as the BMW Supra is a BMW and not really a fucking Toyota at all, it did give us an option that did not exist without it. It is different enough from a Z4. It is different enough from an M2. It is different enough where, like, we got a sports car that wouldn't have otherwise existed. And if we start to see these pairings and combinations or team ups, right? These tornado tags, you know what I mean? The fusion dances between companies that get us a lot more sporty, performance-oriented vehicles at affordable price points. I think that could really matter and get us back into a point where, you know, we have something that we want to drive, that's fun to drive, that's not just another bland drab crossover. So we just really we got to see there. Hey, it could be something where I'm talking all this shit about the Toyota hot hatch and it ends up being way cooler than the Subaru one, depending on the styling. I mean, if it's something where it's like, we know Subaru's been working on Boxers for eternity. They know how to do a turbo all-wheel drive motor or turbo all-wheel drive drivetrain. They live off that shit, right? That could be a really, really nice option if maybe the styling just hits in a way that Subaru's doesn't or something. Or maybe by working on it together, we get a little bit of... Because Toyota has more money. They just do. Maybe we get a little bit of quality control, maybe. I'm not saying Subaru's bad at that, but maybe some other, like, quality of life things, I guess is what I'm looking for, trickle down from Toyota's expanse of wealth that we wouldn't otherwise get in Subaru, because they can throw more money at that end. Maybe the handling tuning would be a little bit better. I know since the partnership, apparently that's something that's helped out a lot, because, you know, I guess Subaru was kind of struggling when it came to really getting that handling down and not being understeer prone. I'll be honest, I've never really driven any of those cars in anger while they were stock, so I don't know what they feel like at the limit. But, you know, maybe someday that'll change. There's also been some rumors bouncing around about a Celica making a return. I think that would be really cool. That would be really fucking cool, because even when Celicas were still around, it stopped in 05. They were... you know, compact, you know, sport compact performance. They were hanging out with the RSX and the Civic and the, at the time, Neon, Cobalt, all this other stuff that we kind of had in like the early mid 2000s, where everyone was sort of making these sporty front wheel drive coupes. You know, you show up, you got about 200 horsepower, a manual, sharp lines. I guess the Eclipse was around at that point, but the 05 Eclipse just... Mitsubishi, we're going to have a long talk later. I'm going to spare you today, but we're going to talk about what you did to the Eclipse, my guy. Anyway, you know, kind of being in that point where it's like, hey, I got about 20-something bands to spend. I don't want to break the bank, but I want something fun. I want something that's going to zoom. And you got to realize, man, in the 2004, 2005, 200 horsepower, coming in at about 2,600 to 2,800 pounds. 5-6-speed manual, depending on which company you're with. Good gearing, good handling. Also, these things were fucking weapons, man. This wasn't in the this wasn't in the era where minivans had 300 horsepower V6s. You know what I mean? Like, this was in an era where, like, a 2004 Mustang GT, because this is before we switched to the 300 horsepower 4.6, when they went to that sort of retro look originally in 2005. Before those came out, like, you was beating shit down Mustang's legs with those. The Camaro was gone at that point, I think, but like, you're out here, you're really getting a lot of performance for your buck. And then some of these, I will admit, on the inside, like the inside of a Chevy Cobalt and the inside of a Dodge Neon SRT, them shits was chopped on the inside. But for enthusiasts, for young enthusiasts specifically, like, you couldn't beat them. You couldn't argue with that, because it's like, I want a car that looks cool, feels cool, is affordable, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice on certain amenities and creature comforts if you put that money into my engine and drivetrain, so I got something that zooms. So, you know, it's it would definitely be nice to see more of those. It would be nice to see the Celica make a return, if it makes a return as the Celica that we know. We saw what happened to the Supra. Whether or not you think that the A90 is a good car, it's undeniable that it's not a Supra in the way that old Supras were. It's not Toyota's big, bad, super performance car where they throw all of their tech and all of their ideology and all their design at it. I'm not going to say that those engineers and designers aren't doing their best with what they have, but the FT1 was going to be it. The Supra definitely feels like we're like, well, how do we squeeze the FT1's design down to a $50,000 car on a Z4 platform? And so we got what we got. And what that is that when you roll the windows down, the wind be slapping shit out of you, but I'm not going to bully the Supra today. All right. I'm going to let you slide, big dog. But if the Celica comes in at this price range that they're talking about, it could be good. It could be very good. But does that mean that we're getting another original, like, sporty coupe? Or is this going to be something where, like, the Celica is just going to be like a rebadging? Like, are they going to turn the 8.6 name and name that a Celica? Does Toyota have any other partnerships that we know about or don't know about? Toyota has a lot of money, but they don't spend it in fun ways unless someone else is also on the line for it. I couldn't imagine Toyota right now being like, look, we have this partnership with Subaru. We already got the 8.6. We got this partnership with BMW. We already got the Supra. Let's also make a Celica from scratch. You know what I mean? It's like why there was no way for the new 8.6 to be turbocharged, because turbocharging adds complexity, adds money, or adds cost, all this other stuff. It can't... There's no way that you could have a car, let's say it only put it at $32,000 somehow for a turbo 8.6 from the factory. The turbo 4-cylinder Supra is 40-something, and that bitch only got like 250 horsepower. So you can't have a faster car in your own lineup for cheaper like that. You're just not going to do it in this day and age. Like, don't get me wrong, that would occasionally happen back in the day where something was an unintentionally faster combo because it was lighter, had better gears or whatever. But for the most part, you're not going to shoot yourself in the foot by making a completely different car that's faster than what's supposed to be your kind of big bad. So if they have the Supra, they have the 8.6, where does the Celica fall in anyway, realistically? As much as we want to see one again, it either becomes a front-wheel drive coupe, a sporty front-wheel drive coupe in an era where I don't think that's going to be something that sells well, unless it's like Scion TC money, where they can undercut the BRZ by like $5,000-$6,000, and this bitch starts at like $19,000-$20,000, which still seems a little wasteful. I don't see the Celica falling in there. I don't really see it getting done. It'll be cool, but I don't see it getting done. I think they would probably be better off just... I just don't see how they do it. It's probably just going to be a renamed 8.6, which I think it should have been named in the first place. Take advantage of that heritage that you have. It's just that now it's going to look like you changed the name of the car 8 fucking times, but I think the 8.6 should have been the Celica the whole time, especially since you got a new Supra out. If you're going to take advantage of that heritage, that legacy, I say do that. Getting back over to Subaru though, man, that new BRZ looks really fucking good, y'all. Really fucking good. I do want to see what Toyota does with theirs. I want to see what it looks like before I commit, but man, that new BRZ has me more excited for a new car than I felt in a long time. I know that some people are disappointed that it doesn't have a turbo. I'm not. I like an A. I like the feeling, the sound. I like when something revs out. I love high revving NA motors. I hope it feels good to rev. I come from a Honda background. I'm used to shit revving out to 8,000 like it's nothing. I've driven a couple of RX-8s. I'm used to something revving out painlessly. But Subarus tend to not rev, and when they do, it's not smooth. It feels like it's kind of trying to rip itself apart. I don't know if that's just the nature of horizontal engines. I don't know. I've driven some Boxsters. No, that's a lie. I've driven 2 Caymans. My fault. They were both, I think they were both 6 cylinders. I know they were older. And I think it was way before they started doing the turbo 4s. I don't think they ever did any 4-cylinder Boxster at that point. But those things are smooth. But that's Porsche. Like, does Porsche, do they do something different that kind of gets that smoothness? But if it feels smooth and it revs well, I think it's going to be a really, really fun car to drive. 223 horsepower, or 228, I think. 230, fuck, it's 230, nigga, it's fine. 230 horsepower is not anything to scoff at either. I mean, the 205 was fine. Torque dip sucked. You weren't really winning any races in the car, but it wasn't a fucking Corolla, you know, so it still was like for normal day-to-day use. Like, I think that this is the perfect sporty daily driver, especially like if you're a young adult or you want your little sidecar or whatever. Like, this is something that you can live with. Like, Miatas don't even have cup holders in them, bro. Like, you can clip a little thing onto the side or whatever, but there's no cup holder in a Miata. There's no cup holder in a Fiat 124. And that shit is not... You think that shit is cool, man? I tried it, bro. I really was like, I can do this. Like, I wanted to go get an iced coffee, and I gotta sit there with the shit between my thighs because I ain't got nowhere else to put it. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's whack. That's whack. So having a car like that's livable but sporty, and you know the aftermarket's gonna run with it, and it looks really fucking good. It looks really good. And like 228, about 230. That's about 200 to the wheels, give or take. That's not bad. Out of an NA 2.4 liter, not bad. I guarantee you, man, with bolt-ons and a tune, it could be pretty crazy. It's not going to be K-Series crazy. I don't think Subaru's gotten that yet. Honda really be having some secret sauce in their motors, but I think it would feel really fucking good, man. Really good. I'm excited. Like, I'm ready to get one. I need it to be here. I got a lease that's going to be up in a few months. I'm going to see if I can push it out so I can keep it a few more months so I'm not without transportation entirely, or without reliable transportation. Every time I turn around, my fucking GSR is on life support, but whatever. But I'm ready for that BRZ or that 8.6 or whichever one that comes out that looks good. Y'all think I'm playing, man, but peep me at the end of the year. I will have one of those cars. Unless the YouTubers eat them all up like they did with the Corvettes. But as long as the fucking YouTubers don't run off with all the stock, yeah, your boy's going to be mobbing one for sure. So keep an eye out. You know, if you follow, check my socials, all that. Keep a fucking eye out. It's going to be a birthday gift to me. Whenever that bitch come out, happy birthday to me. So excited about excited about where that goes. Big plans for it too. Some people are going to be checking this out, know me from something, right? You know me from life. If you played games with me before, you've seen me at a car meet or whatever, like you kind of know a little bit about me. But on the off chance that you don't, when it comes to cars, like it's really hard for me to leave some shit stock. Like I'm one of those people. So even if, like, I'm probably going to lease the BRZ, expect coilovers, bolt-ons, maybe, depending on where the bolt-ons fall into warranty. But usually a catback is fine, warranty-wise. Usually an intake is fine, warranty-wise. Some cars get a little funky about it, but, like, all that other shit. Like, the warranty, it's not going to void everything. That's another thing, too. Just a pro tip. I did used to be in the auto industry. People are like, oh, modifications void warranties, blah, blah, blah. It'll only affect the warranty of what you messed with, in a sense. So, like, if you put a catback exhaust on your car, but your fucking brakes fail, your exhaust had nothing to do with that, realistically, unless you, I don't know, pointed your exhaust right at your fucking rear calipers or some shit like that, which even then, debatable, right? As long as there's no, like, clear interference or some real dumb shit happening, those modifications aren't going to void every single aspect of your warranty because the car's been modified. So, something to keep in mind. And, yeah, man, I already have some ideas for a nice, simple, classy, like, cool street car build for it. So keep an eye out for that as well. In the meantime, yeah, you know, my Integra does need some love. I'm gonna be honest, it's been sitting a long time. It needs a little TLC. I got some plans for it too, but I don't know, man, I'm in a weird spot with that car. I don't feel as excited about it as I used to. I don't really want to sell it, but there are moments where I'm like, man, fuck it, somebody just take this off my hands. But I'm hoping that I can look back at this moment and be like, okay, I'm glad I didn't get rid of it. I'm glad I kind of saw the build through. I think maybe I just have to try something that's a little out of my wheelhouse, or like not out of my wheelhouse, but do something that's a little different from what I would typically do. Maybe boost it. I don't know. Like y'all heard before, I'm definitely an NA guy. I appreciate turbo cars, but I've never turboed an NA car. I always kind of like that feeling of like those high revs. I like when especially when you get like a Honda into that, when it's really singing, man. I'll be honest, we ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? If I built this 1.8 liter, right? It's a GSR, so I build it. Pistons, cams, headwork, like ported, all of that shit. Big old exhaust. I'd be knocking on the door to 200, maybe barely getting over it at the very top of the rev range, and it doesn't really feel it that way all the way around. Or I could just throw a fucking turbo on that bitch and be at 300 horsepower all day, every day, right? If I wanted to be fast, I would have bought a Camaro with an LS in it. I would have threw a turbo on that bitch and been gabbing people all day long. It's not always about maximum power. It's about like what looks good, sounds good, feels good. You know what I mean? I kind of want the whole package in my build. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see where I take it. We'll see if I decide to keep it NA or not. Blowers have been getting a little bit of traction with the B series again lately, but it just depends on how much headache I would have to go through to get it there. I am curious to see how that feels on this motor though, because everyone's saying that blowers feel like super NA. If it could feel like, give me that NA feel, but give me some more power, I might have to see if I can finagle a blower, go through that whole process, have LHT modified, all that. I might check that out. Wow, we are creeping up on 47 minutes here. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in and decided to listen so far. I do expect this to get better as I go, but I mean, it's inaugural. You know what I mean? We're learning, we're trying. We are talking to people, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm not talking to myself, but I'm like talking to myself. I think that'll shake out in a little bit. But last thing I want to get into though, before I completely just get on up out of here, is kind of talking about the gaming space a little bit. Gaming's a little dry right now. It's a lot dry right now. Like, gaming's been dry for years, but 2020, with the pandemic, with us kind of coming out of it, but not really, like, it's just been exceedingly fucking dry in the gaming sphere. There's not a lot of shit that's coming out that I'm super excited about. I was never super hyped about Cyberpunk, but it came and that shit went double plastic. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how many people bought it. I did. I bought it. I got it on Steam. Put a lot of hours into it. It was just disappointing in ways that I didn't know would be possible. And it's just really surprising that like something like that can drop. Whereas like, again, I'm an old nigga at this point, man. And I think that gaming was like peak in like the early mid 2000s. And it felt like every game that would come out in that time was like an iteration or an innovation or something where it's like, this is just getting better and better, bro. Imagine how games are going to be like in 10 years, 20 years. And then 10 years and 20 years came and we're like, oh, damn, money got involved. Tragedy. But, yeah, man, gaming wise, I've been playing a little bit of Destiny 2. I mostly play PvP, not super sweat. I'm not in trials or anything like that. I mostly play just quick play 6v6. I was considering getting in trials this season, but that game just fucking rustles my jimmies, man. Season of the Chosen did just come out. And I'm not sure I enjoy the changes that it made to the sandbox, at least on the Crucible side. It feels like Destiny is the type of game that invites cheese. It just invites a level of cheese and a level of bullshit where it's like you either have to steer into it or just get tilted and quit. And I'm just not built like that. I don't think. I'm not a person that goes for cheese, especially in a game where it's like there's so many options, so much shit you can do. Like, try some shit, but it's like, you know, you're gonna see right now, if it's not hand cannon shotgun, it's hand cannon grenade launcher. Like, the grenade launcher's got arguably a buff, since they're all guaranteed to do damage on, like, explode on direct hit now. So you have a lot of dumb shit happening with that. Stasis got some tweaks. Stasis is still dumb. It's just, I don't know, man. I miss that feeling of like, I'm excited for a game. I'm following a game. I'm keeping an eye out on the news for a game. I'm reading previews, reviews, watching people stream it because it's not out yet. And I want to play, early access. Give me the alpha, give me the beta. I want to play. I want to get all that other shit. And I haven't felt that way about a game in a really long time. And I don't even know what's next. Right now, the only thing that I think that's on its way that feels good and I think is going to certified deliver is Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian. I bought into the early access on that. I recommend, if you like fantasy, if you like D&D, if you like any of the previous Larian games like Divinity and you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, crack it open. I know, $60 for early access, what the fuck? First off, you're buying the game, so when I launch, you're just gonna have it. Alright? For 2, they were clear about the fact that if you buy it now, you're buying a very early game. This is basically alpha, and you're basically testing for them. But they really listen to your feedback, and I think that's something that's really important, is that a lot of game developers either A, say they're going to listen to feedback and don't, or B, they kind of give you the illusion that your feedback matters, but in the grand scheme of things that you make all these suggestions, or a lot of people are suggesting or claiming things, and they kind of like, if they get 100 suggestions or 100 things that they bring up, they deal with like 1 or 2. But like with Larian, and they've done that for the last 2 Divinity games, they're doing it for this. They really, truly, really fucking listen to us. They're really developing this game. There are really things that are getting added, changed, reduced, or whatever on a level that you don't see from developer and community interaction usually outside of an indie studio. I don't know if Larian still is considered an indie. I think they're above that. The niggas got chips now, but it definitely, it feels like they're trying to make a good and fun game, but they're also willing to put their ego aside and not be like, well, this is my vision, so I'm going to do it. Right? Because sometimes your vision is ass, Brody. Like sometimes like we like the concept, but when it really gets down to it, you be fucking up. So, I am really interested to see where that's going to go. It sucks that we're probably still over a year out from the full game really dropping, especially with, again, COVID slowing things down. No one really thought we were going to be dealing with this for this long, but that's kind of it in the gaming space, man. Right now, gaming is dry as fuck. I mean, there have been some Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks, allegedly, but there's GTA rumors every year until a new GTA game comes out, and then there's immediately fucking rumors again, so it's really hard to tell. I do think we're getting closer to a new GTA, though. I know Rockstar mentioned that they want it to be a 10-year game. 10-year as in, they planned on GTA 5 being a 10-year game. I really wish I could find where that was stated. For the life of me, I can't fucking pick it up, but they announced long time ago that they planned for Grand Theft Auto 5 to be a 10-year game, so I'm not getting excited about GTA 6 popping up before 2023. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. Especially Grand Theft Auto 5 is making money. They said that they were trying to get 10 years out of it. They're gonna do it. I think I heard the same thing. I think Bungie's trying to get 10 years out of Destiny, which I need a Destiny 3, but they not fucking around with a Big Poppy Activision anymore though. So, no one's gonna cut the check. R.I.P. Destiny, I guess. Oh, shit. So, World of Warcraft Classic came out in 2019. Shook the internet up, had us all feeling super nostalgic, and then reality set in. Still a fun game, though, in the sense that no MMO since original World of Warcraft has felt like original World of Warcraft. In some ways it's dumb. In some ways it's like, damn, this is okay. I miss some of the quality of life. I miss some of the tweaking and balance, and I miss some of that other stuff. But to have an MMO where your roles matter, where crafting matters, where there's a level of skill, there's a level of like real investment and real like class individuality and even like spec individuality and options, it's a great concept. The reality of WoW Classic is that we've optimized a lot of shit out of the game. So there's the illusion of choice, but it's a lot smaller than it really is. Because it's almost a 20-year-old game, like, it's a lot harder to get in now than it would have been, because you're getting in with people who played Classic, or played the original World of Warcraft, then played on private servers, and like, you know, that's how we had niggas were out here beating the first fucking raid in less than a week after WoW Classic dropped, right? So there's definitely always going to be some of those changes in aspects and stuff like that. But I bring up Classic because Burning Crusade Classic is pretty much guaranteed, right? It's right around the corner. They did some polls about it. They held polls and said, hey, would y'all rather us do like a Classic Plus or a Burning Crusade? And everybody said Burning Crusade, which I thought was dumb. And then I think they had some polls where it's like, if we were to do Burning Crusade, it was just very clear that, like, whether or not they asked, we all knew Blizzard was probably going to take the easy route, right? License to print money. Let's just put out another. Which means that what happens when Burning Crusade is done? Because Burning Crusade itself is a lot smaller than all of Classic. So Burning Crusade is going to be done very fucking quickly. And then we're going to be right back into what? Wrath Classic? Like, when does it stop? And I think we should have gone in the route of Classic Plus. I know it takes more money. I know it takes more effort. I know it takes more creativity. I know it takes a lot of things that y'all don't want to do. But the reason that old school RuneScape is successful in the way that it is because it is mechanically like the old game. Systems are like the old game. But it has been tuned, updated, modernized, and it's had things done to it that need to be done. I don't dislike Modern WoW because I don't like the way it looks. I don't dislike Modern WoW because I don't want to play a monk. I mean, I guess you can get Volpera the fuck out of here. That is furry bait, bro. I'm canceled. Let me chill. It definitely feels like everything that made the game fun and older World of Warcraft, just that sort of feeling of like, you're not always the hero. Sometimes you're just a person, and that feeling of community and that feeling of like, just all these things and like world building and character growth and exploring and just doing just all of this stuff. And I think that a Classic Plus would have been the answer, right? Because some of the problems with Classic is like, okay, the balancing isn't great. Some of the tuning really fucking sucks for some of the classes, and it did get a lot better in Burning Crusade, but implement some of that tuning in a Classic sense, right? I think adding Blood Elves to the Horde ruined the Horde. It literally turned into like over 50% elf overnight, bro. Come on, man. That's whack. I think not having the classes be separated, like having Shaman and Paladin faction separated was important to that faction identity as well. So we're losing faction identity. In the next expansion, we're going to lose class identity. And Outland is going to kill the Classic world. It just is. We did it before. Like, we experienced this. No one's going to hang out in Azeroth because literally everything you fucking need is in Outland. Once you're 60, honestly, once you're fucking 57, nigga, get Azeroth the fuck out of here. And that's assuming you didn't have someone port you to Shaptrath, so you could just go ahead and put your fucking hearth there. So now you really ain't got to travel. You know what I mean? It did add some quality of life things, right? I really do appreciate that there's a summoning stone in each dungeon. I appreciate some of the tuning changes. I do think a level cap was necessary. I do think the way they restructured some of the way that certain things cost gold. I think better itemization, all those things are important. But I really think that the Burning Crusade is the beginning of the downfall of World of Warcraft. And it kind of sucks the wind out of it for someone who's like, I really wanted to get into Classic, and then if Classic Plus happened, I'm like, well, this is new, let's see. But to go back through Burning Crusade, it's just like, then we're going to end up back at Wrath, and then what? We're going to do Cataclysm Class? Or are we just going to have a version of WoW that's just casually 10, 15 years behind Reset? Like, what's the point? What's the actual point? So, I don't know, man. I'm curious to see, if what's going to happen there. If anyone listening is going to play Burning Crusade Classic, you know what I mean? Get your Blood Elf Paladins out, you know what I mean? Go ahead and crack those open. Shit, I might do it too. I mean, when that shit came out, I was a fucking weeb. Of course I wouldn't made a anime-haired fucking Blood Elf dude running around with a sword and casting holy spells and being trash, bro. I was so bad at the game back then. But yeah, man, we'll just kind of see. I shouldn't say men. Yes, human beings of all different shapes, sizes, creeds, religions, genders. Now I'm really going to get canceled because it's going to sound like I'm pandering. I don't mean that. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. However you come, if you enjoy me, I appreciate you. Yeah, that's it. Like I said, this is just first episode, man. We just out here trying to get busy, get something on the board, shooting some kind of shot. And we'll work on it. It'll get better. It will improve. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Thank you to everyone who did listen. We're just over the hour mark here, so you really had to listen to a grown man in your ear for 60 minutes and some loose change. Tune in next time. Check me out on the socials. Makk Nero on Twitter. Makk Nero on Instagram. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.